Annyeong, it's Mikey here, and guys, thank you so much for all your support and how far this channel has come. Now today, I want to thank Chilkey because they sent me out their newest Slice 75 HE. So it's a 75% Hall effect board. So let's get straight into the unboxing, and please make sure to like and subscribe.
Now, starting off with the unboxing of the Slice 75 HE. Thank you again, Chilkey, for sending me this board out because I was really excited to try it out. Chilkey is going through a completely new branding change, and this is going to be an interesting board to see, especially since it's been a while since I've seen their boards come out. And the last Hall effect board I tried from Chilkey was the 65, and it was okay. The software was not amazing, but we're gonna have to take a look here to see how much has it improved. Now, we're gonna open this up and see what's inside. The packaging is really great. I am quite surprised how much they've changed the packaging. It's really gotten to like a much more premium style packaging. They have a nice manual. It's not a ton of stuff in there, but it gives you everything you need. Of course, we're gonna check out the accessories. So I'm curious what they're gonna put inside. So they changed up their cable, which is cool. So they do still provide you the extra ribbon cable, and they even give you a tool to open up the board itself. Now, the cable itself has changed. It used to be like a really thick rubber cable. Now it's actually a braided cable. So that's a nice change where it's not too thick, it's not too big anymore, and they give you a keycap puller switch pillar. Now, we're gonna have to open up the board itself. I was actually trying to see if there was extra switches, but unfortunately they didn't provide that, which would have been a nice touch though. I think it's really nice when companies do that. Now, taking a look at the Slice HE itself. So we get it out of the packaging, and wow, this board has to be really nicely designed. Like, it's a nice aluminum and it's really nice quality. I'm quite surprised with the quality of this board. But of course, we're gonna have to weigh this board real quick before we get into the sound test, and it weighs 1.8, 1.9 kilos. Now, going straight into the teardown of this board. So it is a quick release board, which is really nice to see. It means it's very easy to take apart. You actually can just completely move it quickly with like the assembly. The top casing is actually really nicely done. That layer, honestly, it reminds me a lot of like what Chilkey has done previously too with their boards. So it is honestly reminding of like the ND75, and I think it kind of is using that specific build that they did before. Now, as you can see here on the sides, where it's thicker at 7.8 millimeters, and the thickness of the top was 1.6 millimeters for the thinner side. Now, this is an interesting thing that they did. They used a cork foam for the between the PCB and the plate. Now, this is something cool because I've seen this done with the Electric's Zoom 75 Tiga, and I felt like the cork was actually quite useful in terms of making the sound better, though they're using a steel plate, so keep in mind it is a steel plate, and they provide a very thick foam. It's actually really thick. It's about 1.1 millimeters for, or like 2 millimeters. Yeah, about 1.2 1.3 millimeters in terms of the thickness of the foam itself for the PCB, and then just one sheet of plastic underneath. Now, I'm really curious about this because I noticed on the PCB there was a switch, which is the same type of switch that the 75 had to make it wireless. And, that made me curious. Like, is this supposed to be able to do wireless? So I was trying to take a look to see if there was a spot for a battery or if there was a battery. And of course, we're going to fully open this up, take a look underneath, see how the layout has been done for the USB port as well. And no, there isn't actually a space for battery. So there is no battery or anything. It's just the USB port, like all the data there. So I was kind of disappointed. It would have been interesting to see if they actually did that. Now, we're going to do a mod. We're just going to do a 2-layer tape mod. It's, I think, the easiest thing we can do in this situation because it is a quick release board, which doesn't give you a lot of space to really add extra foam. Now, we did 2 layers. I think 2 layers is usually best to get the good amount of like sound change. And of course, like usually 2-layer tape will help in terms of reducing a lot of the like vibrations, but really do make the sound better. And this is something that's super cheap to do as well for pretty much anyone that's watching. But we're going to quickly put this together. And of course, there's one more little modification I'd like to do for this board because one thing I did notice was that the spacebar did sound kind of hollow. It does have a high tinging sound from there. And this is just because it has the Jade Pro switches and the steel plate. Now, the thing I use is a car sound dampening foam. This is a foam that I like to use for modding my boards as well, just to make the boards sound nicer, especially when there is space available. But I also like using this in terms of the space bar. I don't like to add a ton, right? You don't want to fill it up so much that it completely mutes the space bar and like deletes the sound completely. If you do add too much, it really does that. And also, if you add too much, it might actually affect the space bar movement as well. So put just a little bit. You don't need a lot to do this. And the nice thing about these sound dampening foams is it's easy to cut up. It's hard to remove in the future, but it's easy to cut up and put in. And of course, we're going to have to go into a sound test of the full modded board to hear the changes that we did.
What did you guys think of the sound of the Slice 75? I mean, I'm gonna be honest, the J Pros do sound pretty decent. The way that they did the Slice 75 with the cork foam in between the plate and the PCB was quite interesting. I think though, because they're using an aluminum plate, the sound profile is gonna be a little bit more on the clackier, like louder side. I think it would have been really cool because I know like the thing was the whole cork thing that they did is kind of similar to the Electric's Tiga, right? It would have been really cool if they actually did a cork plate as well, and I think that would have really helped with the whole sound of it, and it might have been actually even much nicer in total. I think the steel plate, as nice as it is, would have been better to have just a different type of plate with this board, and it would have made it sound a lot better. To be fair, the spacebar is where I found the loudest to be the worst. Everything else though sounded pretty good after we did like the modifications, right? Sounds so much better. And in general, the Jade Pros are good, decent Hall effect switches that aren't too bad for like stem wobble. The coloring, of course, we're gonna take a look. So let's get straight into looking at like the backlighting and a little bit more into this board before we get to the gaming and like a little bit more of that.
Now going in a little bit more in depth of the board itself and taking a look. So first things off, this design has been really well done. The 75% layout is really great. It's one of my favorite layouts, and the quick release really does help. Now keep in mind, you have to be careful of those corner pieces. The corner pieces can come off easily when you are removing the top case. So keep that in mind. The lid can affect that, and you're gonna have to put it back. And it's not hard to do so, but it's very easy to lose. So keep that in mind. Now, as you can see here, this is with the Jade Pro switches, and of course, we're gonna have to take a look to see the stabilizers. So these are plate mounted stabilizers, and they do come pre-lubed. So one thing that I did notice was the stabilizer sounds was actually pretty decent. Didn't have that horrible tinging sound, but it's really also not difficult to fix them up if they do have that. Nowadays, I feel like most companies are doing decent stabilizers, and all you need to do is really get a syringe and add Krytox in there. So I use Krytox 205G0, and it's very easy to do so. Like, you just have to get the syringe in there between the stabilizer, and then you can actually fill it in with some Krytox. Now, this is the Jade Pro. So it's the Gateron Jade Pro. It is a very popular Hall effect switch. So they stuck with this one for this board. It is a little bit more on the higher pitch switch sound, and it doesn't give you a full range of like 4 millimeters. So like, for example, Wu-Ting has their Leckers, which is 0.1 to 4 millimeters. This one does not go to 4 millimeters. It goes only to 3.5. Now, in terms of stem wobble wise, the Gateron J Pros are actually pretty good. They don't have a ton of stem wobble, and they're very stable. They do have a little bit, but it's not a bad switch at all. Like, it is a good switch that you can use for your Hall effect boards, and this is why, like, even for my Wu-Ting, you know, I did a video with the J Pro switches. Now, the J Pro does have one caveat, and one of the issues with the J Pro is the fact that the backlighting is not amazing. It actually kind of changes up the color. So let's go into that. So now that we've turned off the lights and we've got the board connected, you can see that the light is quite dim. So the Chilkey Slice HE, one thing that I noticed was that with the backlighting, it is kind of on the dimmer side. You can of course see it. It's visible, right? You can definitely see the backlighting, but it's not a super bright backlight. It is kind of on the dimmer side. Of course, in person, in front of you, it's going to be much brighter than you can see on this camera, right? You have to keep in mind that as I am filming this on a camera, it's not going to catch it as bright as, say, the in-person look. Now, one thing is that the Jade Pro does make the color profile change of the lighting. So you will see that there's a bit of a hue change. I'm trying to show you guys on camera really that difference. But one thing for sure is that when you're using the Jade Pro switches, the backlighting will not be perfectly white. It will actually have a green hue to it because of the color of the switch housing, and that's where the light's going through. So keep that in mind. Now let's take a look at the the Slice HE from Chilkey. Now we're going to a website. It comes in 2 different colors, black and gray, and it's about 149 USD, so like almost 150. You can also pair this up with their newest gaming mouse, which I'm actually gonna be reviewing very soon. So please please subscribe and turn on that notification so you can catch that video as well. It does have snappy tappy, rapid trigger, has dynamic keystroke. It comes with all the special features. It comes with the J Pro switches, as I said, and even shows that Wuchi Studio seems to be making their own Hall effect switch. So I wonder if I can get my hands on that. The board also comes with double shot PVT keycaps. Really great to see that. And of course, it has all these features that, is really great. It's like a great quality board that has been really well built. But the thing is, what's most important about Hall effect boards is the software, right? So we're going to have to go in and find the software, and I'm going to have to show you guys. Is the software any good? Has Chilkey improved it? And does it work well, and is it easy to use? I think the biggest key thing about all of this is it easy to use? So as you guys follow how I went to find it, you can find the same thing on their website. It's a console. It's a web app. We're just going to connect it in and go in. So first thing off that we can see of this board, this is a new software. They've improved it quite a bit. I gotta admit, it looks very simple, to be honest with you. It looks super simple, and it comes in 3 different languages, which is Korean, Chinese, English. But as you can see there, this software has been improved quite a bit, right? Compared to what Chilkey had before, they've really done a great job with it, and they've really actually made a lot of changes, which is amazing. Now, as you can see here, I was actually testing a bunch of stuff and seeing how to move and modify the actual keys. They did a really great job. Honestly, this is a super simple, basic, but well done, right? And I appreciate like that you can make these changes. You can do those function changes as well. I can add the profiles in there. One thing though, I was having issues trying to change profiles on the keyboard using function key. I did bring this up to Chilkey though, so hopefully they can fix that up very soon. But this is really well done, honestly. I'm very appreciating the fact that they put in this time to really, make this simple, make it easy, and have all these customizations available for you. Now, one thing I did notice is I couldn't find the function tap button. Function tap would be useful just so that you can like click on it, set it, and then like use the function keys as you like, and then press it again to undo it. But I mean, that's something that they could probably add in the future. Now you could get all this different lighting changes. You can do your own custom. You can do solid. You can do like different lightings on wherever you like. This is a very nice feature, and I'm very appreciating like what they did for this and how much work they're putting into this. I can definitely see that Chilkey is really trying to make a change for themselves to become a really good gaming like gear company. And this is really impressive to see, right? To see that they've put this effort in. Biggest thing is like you can see that they've really put that effort and the time they took to not make anything and really improve it. I can see that they did that. Now, as you can see, the rapid trigger settings, it's not too difficult to do. You can actually get to like the 0.005 portion, which I don't know if it really does work for the whole 0.05, but it does actually do setting. It sets that up like that for your rapid trigger and your actuation, all the way to the 0.005. And of course, you can even do your travel test, which also shows a demo of the key travel. Very good to see. All these extra features. It's not too difficult to actually set up your rapid trigger. It's not as simple as say some other softwares out there, but it's still not difficult to use, right? And they've made it very easy to actually go through each one and set it up. And this is how I'm setting up my board for Apex Legends, right? Because I have a very specific settings for doing like super gliding and the ways how quick I want to be able to press certain keys, specifically like the E key, for example. And then you can even do calibrations and switch access, so you can change it up depending on the switches you're using as well. Now, this is something really nice to see, and the extra effort that they put in is really great. Now going to the other settings, right, because we want to see what else is available. This is the advanced function. So this is where you have to go to set up your snap tap and other features. Now, how do you do that? You actually have to right click on the key that you want, and then you can set up the different things. So, your dynamic keystroke, macros, SOCD. This is where you can set all that up in the console, and it's not too difficult to do. Just remember, you do have to right click on the key, so just keep that in mind. It is something you have to right click on, and it's not just a simple like, oh, I just click on what I want and then set it up. No, you have to go through each one, and it does give you the explanations of each of the functions. So now we're going to go test out the polling rate. So you use keyboard inspector. This is what I've been using, and then we are checking it out using the binning rate, maxing it out, and you can see that it is getting the 8K. So it is getting 8K polling. In terms of latency, I don't have something to test that out. Now, of course, we're going into Apex Legends to do some testing. Now, the reason why I grabbed a shotgun is so that I can actually see if Super Glide is going off properly. And using a shotgun with a gold bullet allows me to see if it auto reloads, because when you Super Glide, the gun should actually auto reload. Now, using this board for super gliding and practicing it actually did work really well. There was some difficulties in getting used to it in the beginning. I'm gonna be honest, like for me, it's about getting used to it, right? At the end of the day, you have to keep testing it, practicing it. Nothing comes like perfect. You're not gonna get a holophonic board and be like, oh yeah, I super glide 100% all the time now. No, you have to get used to it, and you have to practice it, and then you also have to change up the settings in the console to make sure that it works properly. Now, when I did it with the slice, it worked well. I was able to make the small changes that I needed to, right? You can also use the website Superglide Tester, or then you can actually practice it. And when you practice it there, you can actually see how much you're off, and then you can make those changes in your keyboard, which is amazing. Now, another thing that I like to use for holophonic boards, and the reason why I use a very specific settings for movement, the moving keys, is because of this. In Apex, if you move fast enough and you can counteract the recoil so that the game actually doesn't give you any recoil, and you only have to control like the left and right. So That's one thing I like about holofic boards, and that's kind of how I shoot a lot of sometimes when I'm shooting people that are far, just to make sure my aim is perfect. Now, changing guns and picking things up, it's very quick. This is why I set up my E, right, or pickup to be very low, like the lowest possible actuation point, because I want it to be quick. And as you can see here, with like when I'm looting, right, I want it to open boxes super quick, because after a fight, if there's a third party coming in, I want to open boxes real quick. Now, going in here, the firing range, I'm like testing different things out, moving around, doing wall jumps, practicing to see how my aim is, right? Trying the super glide, and then see. Of course, my aim's not perfect, sorry, but this is what I would do to test out Hall effect boards to see how good is it in terms of gaming, right? Gaming and seeing how it is. Of course, we have to also get into an actual game to really see and test it out yourselves, because this is a practicing range where you don't have to deal with some stress or like people fighting, but in game that stress goes higher. So this is what happens right when we land. As soon as I land, I'm looking for items, and using a holographic board, the key difference in like competitive advantage is the fact that if I landed with someone, I can most likely pick up an item faster than they can. That's only, of course, considering that your ping is equal. Of course, if there is a difference in ping, you're going to be a bit slower. But for those that have a slower reaction, or you're slower at pressing a button, like me, a holographic board helps a lot in terms of being quick to pick things up. That's something that I noticed, and something that I personally appreciate, is that. And one of the reasons why I ended up getting a Hall effect board too is because I wanted to be able to do this, because I've been so slow at like farming, picking up items, opening loot boxes, that yeah, I needed that. Now, using skills too. Sometimes I do accidentally press buttons, which is why I have to like make sure to put my Q, for example, at a different actuation point, because I don't want to accidentally press a skill, and I do that sometimes. But as you can see here, movement wise, using my skills, going around and fighting, sorry, my aim is not perfect though, so please don't mind my aim. But you saw right there, I opened a box so quick because I wanted to quickly grab items before my teammates could, because the people I play with sometimes are very quick to farm, and then I get nothing. So as you can see here, and like the Revenant changes, actually that's really nice. I really appreciate Revenant change. It's been fun to use them. But yeah, holding the Q down, using it quickly. As soon as I knock someone, I grab another one just to see if I can find the other enemies out nearby. Very simple to do, but very effective with using a holophonic board over just a regular mechanical board. Is these kind of things. Is you're getting these extra movements, very quick actuation, very quick responses, and I think this board really does work well. And it's been great to use, and the Jade Pro switches honestly feel great to use as well. So yeah, this is just a small gameplay footage and my thoughts.
Now, where does the Slice 75 HE stand? As you guys know, I use a Wu-Ting 80HE. I have one. I've also tried out the Newfie Air 75 HE, and because they're all around the similar layout range, right? And then in terms of like the price range, right? So this is sitting at 140 USD. It is not on the cheaper side of Hall effect boards. Now, where does this differentiate itself compared to those other boards, right? So if you go into the list of Hall effect boards that we've tried out in this channel,
as you can see here, these are the boards that I tried out on this channel, where I have a total of 9 different Hall effect boards. And of course, where does the Slice H75, stand between all of them, right? You see the different price range, you see the different layouts. They're all, of course, hot swap, all Hall effect. And where do I find? Actually, sorry, the Metal Geek says custom mechanical. It's actually Hall effect. I got this, and I should have changed that. That was my mistake there. Now, this is the main board that we're looking at, comparing it with the other boards out there. All right, it's at 150 USD with the Gateron Jade Pro switches, has AK pulling. Pretty much all of these boards all came with AK pulling, so keep that in mind. Now, where does this board line up? It's a 75% with the F-Row, right? The 80HE is a 10 keyless. I would really call it more of a 75. And the Epo Maker is okay. It's a plastic build that was quite cheap feeling, to be honest, but it does have wireless. Now, looking at the Slice 75, right, the 150 USD range, and then the 200 Wu-Ting, the 100 Epo Maker, 130 Newfie, which is Newfie is a low profile, so keep that in mind. It is still different, even though it's a 75% layout. They stand in very different kind of spots, right? One thing you can tell is like the layouts are different for all of them, and it comes down to if you want a specific layout or not. I find that like what I would say compared to all of them, right, and the same price range, right? You have to consider also the price range of the boards. The Wu-Ting stands out a much more price, like it's $50 more at least, right? So you're spending $50 more for Wu-Ting for the plastic case. The $150 Chilkey, it stands more towards the Lumen Key Megger and the Mate 68, right? So you're looking now at the same price range. You have the 68, like from the Melgeek, and you have the Lumen Key. Lumen Key is also aluminum casing. The Melgeek's was not. Where do I put the Lumen Key? The Lumen Key was really well done, honestly. I really appreciated it. It sounded great. It felt great, and it did its job. It was very good gaming board. It definitely had a decent software too. The Chilkey software I actually appreciate even more because they provided a lot more customization. And as you can see in the comparisons, like with the web apps, the Chilkeys really improved their software a lot. They still need work, right? I truly think that the Chilkey software is not perfect. Still needs a lot of work. There's still some bugs that I noticed, as I said, the profile things, but they did a great job with this in terms of, say, comparing it with the same price range boards. Now, if I'm going to number these out from like 1 to 5, and I want to, kind of give you guys like what my thoughts are in terms, still my tops from all the Holophonic boards I've tried, right? I can't give you guys my thoughts on ones I haven't tried. Even if I look at the specs, it just doesn't give it justice because I didn't try it. So number 1 is going to be the Wu-Ting, and that's because of the software. The Wu-Ting does a lot of support for their software, a lot of support for their boards, and there's a lot more customization available, right? You're spending a lot more money though. So you have to consider that it is still very expensive. My Wu-Ting came out to be like 500 Canadian after everything, right? So after doing everything, like all the customizations, moddings, it's super expensive. But that's the nice thing about Wu-Ting, right? That's why I put it at number 1. There's modifications available. Now, number 2, I'm going to put my Slice 75. The reason I put the Slice 75 at number 2 is so far now, after all the different ones that I've tried, they've done a really great job with the quality of the board itself and the web app. The reason I'm putting the Lumen Key and Newfie in number 3 is I actually would put Newfie maybe actually number 2 even, right? Like it's a different board itself. It's a low profile. Their software is well done. There is some bugs, of course, but I really appreciate Newfies, right? So there's the Air 60 and there's also the Air 75. So there's both. You can choose. That's a nice thing about the Newfie. You have 2 different layout choices and they both work well. The Lumen Key as well, I think it's okay. The software could do some work, but it's well done board. The Mtros, of course, is the best budget, I think, in terms of the price because it's only $50 and it has 8K everything. And the Monsgeek, I think it's in its own little range because it's a hybrid board. You can actually use mechanical switches on it, which is really cool.
Chilkey has gone through a lot of changes, right? They're going through a big change in terms of making much more gaming specific boards and specific gear. Like I actually have the new Chilkey mouse also that's going to be doing a review separately, and I will do all together, of course, like playing with both this and that to have a good review of it. But in total, if I were to give you guys my opinion of this board, I think the build quality of this board is really mind-blowingly better than a lot of them. This specific aluminum, the CNC, was really well done. I love the design of this board. It is steep in the price range, right? You're looking just a little bit cheaper than, say, just getting yourself a Wu-Ting. But if you are wanting to save some money for a board that does work well with everything, I would take a look at this board. Chilkey definitely has done a great job with it. And of course, you can bundle it with their new gaming mouse, which I will do a review soon. So please catch that video as well. And make sure to like and subscribe and see more content that I've done with other Holophonic boards and future content to come. So I'll catch you guys next time.